What's up? What's up? You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I got Mr. Marshawn Powers in the studio with me getting acclimated. Marshawn, what's up with you? How you doing today, sir?
Good. Stuck in that. I forgot the name of it.
Cleveland don't got no traffic.
Yeah, it is. Opportunity Corridor. And that thing never had traffic when it first opened. I hate that street.
I don't know how I feel about the purpose of it, but I will admit that it is very convenient.
At nighttime, yeah, not during the day.
His purpose is to cover up blight or what have you for certain people, and have a smooth, quick way to get into the city. And like I said, I don't know if I necessarily like.
It should have been 3 lanes. 3 lanes each way. Shouldn't have been 2. 2 ain't enough. 2 don't feel like enough.
Yeah, but it's all cool. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad you're here sound, and I'm glad that you could be here with me today. How was your weekend?
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was relaxing. Kind of chill, but it wasn't really. I didn't do much. There's probably one weekend where I didn't do much.
You do anything fun at all, or no?
Nope. What did I do this weekend? I can remember. Nothing.
It was hot outside.
Yeah. I hung with my. Well, me and my mom took my granddad out to eat Sunday because his birthday was like a couple weeks ago. My mom works a lot, so we hung out with my granddad. Took him out to eat Sunday for his birthday.
Where'd y'all go?
Golden Corral. That's his favorite restaurant.
Really?
Me and my mom was kind of like whatever, like we kind of was just like we here to hang out with him, but the food was kind of. They sweet potatoes is diabetic sweet potato. Things ain't sweet at all.
But you got to go and do what Grandpa wants you to do. So you gotta.
It was fun. The hangout with him was fun. To be able to hang out with my granddad, it's my partner right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell people, if you still have grandparents left, cherish them, because my last grandparent passed away over 20 years ago now. So that time that you had with your grandparents and older people in your life, cherish that time and continue to make more memories with them. So I wish I had a grandparent that I could, talk to and be with and hang out with. And unfortunately, I don't. So, there it is right there. But let's go ahead and get into some Cleveland Guardians talk or whatever. So last night they had a game in Boston, game 1 of a 4-game series, and Boston donned some of the ugliest uniforms I've ever seen, the yellow and blue uniforms. I guess those are the Boston bombing uniforms, they call them. So I'm not exactly sure how they ended up being that color or why, but unfortunately, Zach Plesac gave them over 5 innings yesterday, and unfortunately, they lost the game 3-1. So one of the interesting statistics is when Zach Plesac pitches, they're not able to generate any run support. So they've had 1 run or fewer in Zach Plesac's 18 starts. So he isn't getting the run support he needs when he's out there to pitch. How would you feel if you were Zach Plesac out there and your team isn't doing anything behind you every time you start?
You feel a little frustrated. You know what I mean? Not getting the run support that others are getting, but is he playing lights out in every start?
He's playing pretty well. I mean, he only gave up 3 yesterday. There was 2-8. There was a rain delay or what have you, but 3 innings against 3 runs against the Red Sox is
it's terrible.
Well, I think it's kind of good considering how they've had our number. Yeah, but I kind of had a feeling that the Red Sox were going to go back to the old Red Sox because this weekend they were outscored by like 40 runs by the Toronto. Yeah. So, I figured that, Toronto unfortunately might go back to who they were. Not Toronto, but Boston might go back to who they are against the Guardians. I'm not sure why. I was hoping that they'd still be on that losing streak because they lost. They only won 1 out of their last 10 games. They're at 500. So I was kind of hoping that they beat the team that played against Toronto this weekend, and they weren't.
Yeah. Typically, after you get a whooping like that, you tend to play better. So, it would have been nice if we were the team that gave them that 28 Yeah, we scored 28 runs on them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know. We've been so up and down this season where, we'll have a good 3-4 game streak, and then we'll lose. We'll have a 3-4 game streak, then we'll lose. So I kind of been taking it week by week with this team. It used to be day by day, but then they started to show me a little signs. I'm starting to take it week by week now, at least until we get Savale back. He's gone with the injury, and figure out rotate. Figure out his spot for the fifth spot. I still believe that we don't have a solidified fifth spot for us, and we got a lot of guys. I was hearing yesterday that we had a lot of guys. We don't really have a lot of great guys in AAA, but we have a few guys in AA where we're probably about a year and a half away to where that they could be coming up and challenging for some of those spots to where we could probably trade the Savales and the police acts, and maybe even the Kluber because his velocity is down this year. They've been saying like his velocity, isn't what it once was in his Cy Young years. Down, not drastically, but down a noticeable amount to the point that it shows why he's struggling this year. So, I've just been taking it a little slow with this team. If we make the wild card, I'll be excited, but that's kind of like our ceiling with this team.
Yeah. Right now we're on a current 3-loss streak. So, excuse me, they dropped the last two to Chicago White Sox, and they dropped the opening to against the Boston Red Sox. So we're just going to see. I think that this is a major series. It's a time to right the ship. I believe you can do it against Boston. It's just one win, considering how terrible they've been playing over the past few weeks. I think that if the Guardians try to slow things down a little bit and get back to the fundamentals of baseball, I think that they will be okay and they might be able to win the series. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Well, they have to stay consistent. That's the number one thing overall. If they're not consistent, how do you expect to beat teams that were rated better than you, that were expected to be better than you this year? So, they have to stay consistent on all levels, in my opinion.
And George says no team in the AL East is 500 or above in record. Boston, after last night, is 500, but over 15 games behind the Evil Empire, which is the New York Yankees, who is leading the AL East. And then after this trip to Boston, and Cleveland just couldn't get it tied to go into extra innings. But it'll be the first time in his career he's ever started a game. But I guess he started in the minor leagues before. So we're going to go ahead and take our first break. So you're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. Be careful playing with the microphone because it's getting picked up in the mic when you're touching the thing. And talk, Jay said, talk a little louder.
Okay.
So, okay, that's it for baseball. So you want to hear football?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
To choosecmsd.com or calling 216-838-3675.
It was rough today. I'm struggling.
This message is brought to you by the Cleveland Metropolitan School District and WOVU.
We're just trying to
I got a phone call. She said stop touching the mic. So you must move the mic around.
Yeah, I just told her.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just playing.
Oh, they listen. Yeah, they listening.
This little thing right here.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady.
All right. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I got Marshawn Powers in studio with me. What's up, Marshawn? How you doing?
Good.
Yeah? All right. So guess, my man. Guess what? It is time. It is time. So it's I don't know why there's a ton of baseball that's going on. You had a whole bunch of basketball that lasted for 10 months, with the finals and everything like that. Basketball like literally lasts 10 months. I don't understand it. You had all that action going on in the NBA. Your Cleveland Cavaliers took a lot of great strides forward, and now you have your Cleveland Browns who start training camp tomorrow. What are some of the feelings that this conjures up within you?
I'm just ready to first of all, I'm ready to hear the suspension stuff, so my saneness can just be, just be good. That way I know Deshaun is whatever is gonna happen to him, and then it's Browns football. I'm always excited for Browns football. Nothing from the Browns could have went 0-16 last year. They get a pass from me starting tomorrow. Like whatever last season was, I no longer know who Baker Mayfield is. I know the name, but I don't know the player. He don't play here no more. So I'm just looking forward to seeing a new season and a new team. That's why it's a new team every year. So I'm looking forward.
Yeah, I'm super excited about, what comes. I think every Browns season there's, a ton of excitement. There's also trepidation as well because, we are those lovable losers. So we want to be a winner. We want to win. And one of the things is it just hasn't happened for us yet. And you find this team doing everything that they possibly can to put themselves in a position to win. And it just hasn't worked out after regime after regime after regime. So in 2020, it looks like, things came together and you finally got the right coach. You finally got the right quarterback. And then the next season, it falls apart. But before you got to that season, things were on the upward trend. Baker was one of the hottest quarterbacks out there going into the next season, but he did a lot of his damage against bad teams.
Yeah, if you look, I was looking at this article the other day where they broke down a lot of his numbers, and it was he was in the fourth quarter, he was 57% completion rate in the fourth quarter. It was terrible. It was, my goodness. So I'm looking forward to seeing now that Stefanski has the quarterback that he basically picked. Deshaun wanted to come here, but at the same time Stefanski had a say so in Deshaun Watson coming here. He had to be convinced as well as to do some convincing, in my opinion. So it's time for the guy who was named Coach of the Year two years ago to show us why he really is the Coach of the Year, because I feel like he got that award. This is no shade towards Stefanski. This anybody that really knows football, the ins and out of football, knows that he got that award because he, not only the Browns made the playoffs after so many years, but he was the coach that did it after just year after year after year. So I understand why he got the award, but now it's time to show us why you really deserve that award.
Well, there was a specific challenge to him too, which was COVID. So, that had to be a difficult situation for a first-year head coach to be able to navigate that, not be able to be with your players, not be able to be in the facility. And the first playoff game, you actually get COVID. You actually have a position group, out the whole game, which was your wide receivers against the New York Jets, and you still almost win the game, even though you lost that game. So, I think that there was a lot of challenges and a lot of things stacked against him, with a second year. Was it Baker's third year?
Yes.
Baker's third year? Okay, because he came off the terrible season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he had the rookie year, then the terrible season, and then the third year. So, have a quarterback coming off of his third year who made a lot of improvements. And you got, OBJ, you got Jarvis Landry, and, a lot of teams are talking about, Super Bowl talk and stuff like that. And you got a huge playoff win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you almost go into Kansas City and almost pull off a victory. You just couldn't stop. What was his name?
Chad Henne.
Yes, thank you. You just couldn't stop Chad Henne. Anything is possible. Had you been able to stop him on the fourth down, things, a lot of people would have been talking a different tune. But I'm excited for the possibilities. I'm excited. The defense, every year you opt to improve that. You got rid of, unfortunately, situations occur where Jarvis and Odell had to leave the team. So now you got some new young receivers. You're waiting to see, who emerge. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be, this is a opportunistic year for him to show what he really has done. And hopefully, he has been, what's the word I'm looking for? Groomed, so to say, or they have did things with his development within the, I've never really seen them, how they develop players though. This is, I don't know if this team, how they develop people. Because people are gone.
When's the last player that they can say about Nick Chubb, Denzel?
But would you say Nick already came in knowing what to do and you didn't really need to develop him that much?
No, you can't really say that because it's different in NFL. I mean, in college to NFL. So, I mean, Nick, somebody had to, in my opinion, groom Nick at least to the NFL way. May not have been to football or how to play a certain way, but Nick had to be groomed to learn the NFL.
Do you think Georgia did that for him?
I don't think college can prepare you for the NFL. Then only playing in the NFL can prepare you. College can't really prepare you, in my opinion. I don't know. That'd be a good question to ask somebody that played at a premier program such as Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, things of that nature. Were you NFL ready by just going to one of those elite programs? I don't think so, but you never know.
And George says his training camp goal is to attend one of the sessions and also get out of training camp healthy. That is his success for a great camp. That's what he thinks. And another aspect of camp is for Kevin Stefanski and the QBs to all be on the same page going into week one. And that's the thing. We still don't know what quarterback we're going to have. And unfortunately, this wait is taking forever. It's excruciating. And I wish, she would come up with her decision, whatever it would be, so this team can move on. Because right now they're trapped. They don't know which direction they want to go. They don't know who's their starter going to be. Who do you give the reps to in camp? How do you go about this without a lot of questions unanswered? So I think it's taking way too long.
I don't think it's taking way too long, but I think she's trying to make sure she dots her I's and crosses her T's. I don't think she's trying to. My opinion, at this point, I don't think she's trying to please either side. I think she's just trying to make sure she's doing what she feels is right.
But the allegations have been out since 2020. So it's like, couldn't you kind of have your mind made up by now?
Yeah, but what if she don't even know nothing about this? What's going on? What if she don't even know who Deshaun Watson is?
She know it, unless you've been under a rock. You know
She probably know
who these people are.
She probably know.
Well, then what's she doing in the NFL if she don't know who they are?
She's a judge.
Yeah, but she worked for the NFL now.
Yeah, but that don't mean that she worked for that. It's that she need to know football because she worked for that. That don't mean anything.
Well, I'm just saying they need to kind of get moving on things so the Cleveland Browns can kind of know which direction that they're going to be able to go in, you know, who's going to take the reps and game plan and, you know, just put Jacoby in positions in which he's going to be successful against some of the teams that we're going to be playing.
I think the Browns are already operating under the assumption that Deshaun will miss some. So I don't think how can I say this? I don't think that they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting. I think they already have a plan. That's what you had the weeks before you came to training camp to get things done. You know, I don't think that they're going to be sitting around twiddling their thumbs. Oh, we need to. No, you know, they got so many days to, you know, do so many things in training camp, and I think they'll probably work on some of those scenarios.
What did you think of the signing of Josh Rosen?
I wanted Josh Rosen. I want either Josh Rosen or Josh Allen in the draft. So we got one of them. So I mean, I know he's not going to be first string. Like, this is Deshaun's team, but if we can't keep Jacoby next year and he's our backup, I'm curious to see what he does for us.
Andrew Berry was a huge Josh Rosen fan when he was coming out of the draft, and that was one of the players that he wants. So he kind of satisfied that within one of his needs and, you know, being a backup. Do you think that he can come to training camp and compete for a starting job against Jacoby?
Jacoby been here since what do you call those days? OTAs and stuff like that. I think Jacoby already probably got that locked up. Now it's just they need a backup just in case Jacoby gets hurt. I don't think this is nothing more than just we got to make sure we got an insurance policy for the insurance policy.
Yeah, but, you know, one of the things I'm excited for is also to see what this new look offense can do as well and see, you know, how some of these receivers can get in here. David Bell right now is on the physically unable to perform list, and we got a couple people that was added as well. So you also had Denzel Ward and Jack Conklin added too. So my thing is Denzel Ward with his foot and right tackle Jack Conklin with the knee, and they ain't even did nothing yet. How did it hurt?
Probably working out before they got to training camp. You see, Minka got hurt for the Steelers, so them dudes probably be working out. Got hurt during minor thing. They don't want to ramp them up too much, kill them.
Looks like also defensive tackle Sheldon Day, it was on for his back, and Anthony Walker was on for his groin and on the active non-football injury list, and wide receiver Javon Wims was placed on the active non-illness football list. So a week. Yeah, and then in some case weeks. So Ward injured his foot at the final day of mandatory minicamp, June 16th. So there's no major structural damage or anything like that. And looks like he was seen walking around in a walking boot at his youth football camp last month. But, you know, all goes well. He'll be on the practice field soon in a limited basis. So looks like His injury gives third-round pick Martin Emerson a chance to get more reps with the starters in the early part of training camp. So, one of the things that we hope is not going to be a hindrance is Denzel Ward. We're going to be counting on him to be one of the anchors of this defense, and we can't really afford to have him hurt right now.
It's the start of training camp. I'm not. My level of how can I say this? My level of concern is 0. They got plenty of time to figure this out. I'm not worried about if this person comes back or when this person's gonna come back. They got how long is training camp? 6 weeks, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then 4 weeks or something like that. And then you got another 19 days between that and the start of the regular season. I'd be more worried about a non-important person getting hurt, like a guy who was maybe possibly that could make the roster as a special team or something, and got hurt and it ruined his chances, then a guy who I know is going to be on the roster.
Yeah, I just don't want that foot to rear his head back into the end of the season,
Hey,
so
he good. He here.
I know, but we need him. We actually need his play on the field, and we up in the AFC with a lot of these, pass happy offenses and stuff, and his role is going to be more defined and more important as we move forward. So we got to go ahead and take a break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
The gospel event of the summer, the Mandora Spiritual Singers celebrate 58 years of singing the gospel of God. On Sunday, August 21st at 6 p.m. at Zion Hill Missionary Baptist Church, 11115 Kinsman Road. This is an anniversary concert you don't want to miss. Hosted by
What else of football did you want to hear?
We talk about Julio.
Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me.
And then I think Ohio State starts. I think they start this week or next week.
The Christian Brothers, the Gospel Travelers, the Fleshman Singers, the Elite Jewels, the Chosen Vessels, the Spiritual Believers, the Joynettes, and the Christian Redeemers, celebrating 58 years of gospel glory, honoring the Mandora Spiritual Singers with special guest Divine Nature. Hosted by J. Sunday, August 21st at 6 p.m. Zion Hill Missionary Baptist Church, 11115 Kinsman Road. For more information, call 216-338-2217 or call 216-302-5811.
Oh, you stayed in Ohio State started.
By the Spiritual Singers and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United. Burtonville Car Community Radio.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady.
All right. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle, WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I am here with Mr. Marshawn Powers. Always remember, you can keep it locked on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM. You can always listen to us online at WOVU.org. You can always download the WOVU app and listen to us on the go. You can always call the station at 216-271-0959 to join any and all conversations. But we were just talking about the NFL. Since tomorrow training camp opens up for the Cleveland Browns and football season is finally here amongst us, even though it's still going to take a minute for them to play one of their first games in September. So that's still got a little bit over a month and a half almost. So still got some time. But Signing went down today. Julio Jones has signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Mr. Tom Brady. Marshawn, what are your thoughts on that signing? Because when Julio became available, a free agent, I thought maybe the Browns should go have a run at him since they got rid of Jarvis and Odell. But, you have some injury history there with him, and that's one of the reasons he was with the Titans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they released him.
No, he finished out his season.
Yeah, but wasn't he hurt this year as well? So that was some of my concerns, But what are your thoughts about him signing with Tom Brady?
I think it just giving Tom another weapon, So I think that's a nice pickup for the Buccaneers. But I agree with you. I wish we could have got Julio as well. Julio would have fit in to exactly what we got going on here in Cleveland, my beliefs. But he's going somewhere a little better, So I'm curious to see how that works out. I think if he stays healthy, I think that's got a chance to be one of the top receiving corps. People say Julio's washed, but
But was he a wash because he was hurt, or a wash because his ability isn't there? Because I think the ability is still there. It's just him being able to get on the field and actually compete was the issue. So looked like he gonna join the receiving corps as Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, and Brashard Perriman, who used to play here for us. And they welcomed Russell Gage, another former Falcon, this offseason. So Godwin is recovering from a torn ACL suffered late last season. So he will be back slowly with the Buccaneers, but the Buccaneers have got a good receiving corps. So Tom is going to be spreading the ball and spreading the wealth.
Yeah, they lost Ronald Jones III, so you lose a little bit of groundwork, and you add that with Julio Jones. You replace that with Julio, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I think it's going to be, like I said, if Julio can stay healthy, I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a real fun offense to watch, especially in the pass game.
Does he start or he come off the bench?
I think it depends on how you view it as a start. Like, does he start the games? He one of the first receivers to go out there? No, but I feel like put him out there with the starters. Is he probably your number one receiver? No. I think he's kind of in that Antonio Brown role. Antonio Brown was the third receiver, but you had him out there with the other two receivers. So he was an important piece. He probably wasn't the number one guy, but I still think they signed him with the importance of making him an important piece.
And we all know that Tom Brady is coming back, so they're stacking them receivers in Tampa Bay, or Champa Bay as they call it, whatever. But I think it's a very interesting move, and I wish the best for Julio. Like I said, I wish we could have took a one-time flyer at him, but they probably looked at injuries and things like that and decided not to gamble. But you should have known some team was going to take a flyer on him, and it would be like a team like Tampa Bay where they need him, but they don't really need him.
Yeah,
but
it's an extra piece.
Yeah,
like it ain't. They weren't hurting for him, but it wouldn't hurt to have him.
Yeah, because he's not going to make or break your year, but he's somebody dynamic that you have Tom Brady to throw to.
Exactly. Like I say, you get. It's kind of like being a millionaire and having like a million cars, and your wife for your birthday surprises you with another nice car. It's kind of like, I got all these cars. I'll eventually drive it. I'll play with it a little bit, but it's not.
It ain't my everyday car.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go drive it. The sun is out, so let me put the top down, and I'm gonna go drive it. Yeah, so hopefully, it won't be I don't think any ending could have been, like the one that Antonio Brown has, because you kind of think of Julio Jones as troubled, not really troubled, but as bouncing around from team to team. But injuries have unfortunately been an issue for him. So I wish him well, and I'll be looking forward to camp to catching Tampa Bay highlights and seeing what he's out there doing. Because like I said, it would have been nice if the Browns had went after him on a 1 year rental and maybe been able to do some things and, had him, paired with Deshaun Watson, because I believe Deshaun Watson will be playing this year. If they could have had him paired up and gave him as many weapons as possible, I think that would have been awesome sauce. Speaking of Deshaun Watson, how much do you think chemistry is going to be destroyed when he gets his suspension?
What do you mean?
Like chemistry that he's built with his teammates and stuff like that?
I think he'll have to find it, but I don't think it's gonna be a lot of chemistry destroyed. I think he'll have to reestablish it. I think he'll definitely have to reestablish it, but I don't think it's gonna be a lot of chemistry lost. I don't see
I kind of feel like, he took the offense, to on an all expenses paid trip to the Bahamas. And, I feel like, because he also hasn't played in the game in over a season as well. So you lose a little bit right there. Obviously when he comes in, he's going to be a little bit of rusty, but he's going to knock the kinks off. But, I just feel like, I think depending on how far he goes in training camp before we learn of this suspension is one of the things that I'm thinking of in terms of chemistry, because right now, it's being played as if, he's QB1 from day one and there's no suspension. So, that's kind of what I meant about how much chemistry is destroyed that he's building, with these young receivers and stuff like that when he has to sit out, depending on how long he has to sit out. So that's my thing to me is that, you're messing things up, unfortunately. And, he'll be pulled out at a certain date, but, trying to get him together and stuff like that. So,
I think it's different. I mean, that's why I think that's probably why he's going through all of what he's going through now, like taking the team this place, taking the team that place, doing all the extra work, coming to training camp early before the veterans reported. I think that's what I mean. In my opinion, that's why he's doing all of this so that he can get all of the sort I'm looking for, the connections and all the everything that he needs with Amari Cooper and other receivers. But then again, look at how many people are running backs is up, but you got your rookie receivers now and David Bell who's on the PEP list. So that doesn't help. That doesn't hurt either. I mean, that doesn't help him either. That the receivers are down. So I think I think he'll do it what he do. But if Deshaun Watson is as elite and as talented as we saw in 2020, where he did it with no name receivers, getting connection with a guy named Chad Hansen, who I've never heard of that guy. But I feel like if he can, get connections with that guy, things of that nature, I don't know what he's going to do when he comes back from however long his, if possible, suspension is.
Yeah, I just hate that, they build this chemistry and then, he'll get, pulled out and, what they built, it can always be regained. But, you work so hard at building that trust and timing and all those other things, and you only have so much time to do it. So it's just unfortunate that, he is going to be pulled out and stop that process. So, what are any players that you think on the defensive side of the ball that you're going to be looking out for?
Of course, the rookie Carry on Winfrey. I think he's going to be needed as in the defensive tackle room that has question marks on it. I want to see what steps Greedy Williams takes. His last year, this is his contract year, so is we going to re-sign Greedy, or are we going to let Greedy go? We're going to trade him. So I want to see what steps Greedy takes this year. Um, I want to see what steps the backup defensive ends takes. The Chase Winovich, Alex Taylor, is that his name? The rookie, his name. Um, and others. I want to also you can add Miles Garrett into that because going later into the end of the season, Miles Garrett always has like a small little thing of when he gets hurt towards the end of the season, his production drops down, or if a DN gets hurt, our room is kind of depleted. So I'm looking forward to having a complete defensive end room, throughout the season. We had a pretty decent one last year, but we still lost our backup guys got hurt. What else? I'm looking to see what type of step JLK is going to make now that he's the guy in the linebacker room. So those are the guys I'm pretty much looking at.
Yeah, that was a huge one for me too, because he was known for being all over the place, wrecking shop on opposing offenses. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what he's going to do in year 2 because, you don't really know what these players are going to do until 3-4 years later down the draft. And, they say that NFL is not for long. So I think he's already proven this past year, proven some of his worth. And I think it's just showed that it was going to get better. Greedy is important, like you said, because Greedy's been injured. So this is a make or break year for Greedy to be able to show what he can do. You mentioned Miles Garrett. What was that one person's name you said?
I think the guy from I think his name is Alex Taylor, the rookie. We picked him up this year from University.
Yeah, Alex Taylor, South Carolina State.
Yeah. So I think Alex Taylor. I think if we, I think we should be fine. If we, as long as the depth, and all of that behind is good behind them, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, Perrion Winfrey, I think, is one as well that you look at and see with that addition, a defensive tackle from Oklahoma, how he will perform as well. Also, that was one of the steals of the draft too. There was a lot of good things that was said about him. Mm-hmm. So I think that, that's one to watch. Also, on special teams, K. York, there's a lot of talk about K. York and his kicking ability. And I never was in love with Phil Dawson. Seemed like he missed a lot of kicks, but we were terrible at the time. And it didn't seem like to me that he was Mr. Automatic. So I wasn't in love with Phil Dawson as well. I guess I've given him his flowers more now after his career is over and stuff like that, because everybody else said he was a good kicker, but I don't really recall him being that great. But they said that K. York is that guy, so I think it'll be interesting. And depending on where field position is at, how important he could possibly be this year, where we don't know what's going to happen. Can the defense can offense put him in some favorable positions and stuff like that? Obviously, you want to be able to score in the red zone, but if not, does he have that Justin Tucker leg? Quite possibly. It's hard for a team, because that dude is just, a special guy. But, could he be and develop into one of the premier kickers in all the league? And I think offensively, I'm looking at, David Bell. I want to see what Anthony Schwartz can do. Did you read the story about Anthony Schwartz taking blame about about Baker being injured?
I haven't read it yet, but I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit yesterday, but people can kind of be a little crazy on social media and stuff like that. So, I don't doubt the story. Oh, Greg Newsome is somebody that I want to see defensively as well.
Take another step.
Yeah, because you're in the past happy AFC with all these great quarterbacks, and I think he did a great job last year. So I'm excited to see, how he's going to progress forward in this league this year. And even though Deshaun is going to be suspended, I still think that this, there's big expectations for this team that based on their schedule, and they can actually do some damage in the AFC and possibly make a wild card. So
it all depends on what they do. And the time Deshaun is out, and then, well, it all depends on how many games Deshaun gets. Then, after that, what do they do when without Deshaun, and then what does Deshaun do when he comes back?
Yeah. And then also Dearness Johnson, what will he be able to do? Because Kareem Hunt was injured, so he was a serviceable backup. So I think somebody like him, he could be auditioning for another team depending on what happens. Because I think the Browns are going to go ahead and re-sign Kareem Hunt, and he'll be back, but. I think that they'll keep him as a third back, or another team will snatch him up because of the great things that he's done. Being in for Kareem Hunt, and there's not really been that much of a drop off at running back, and he had that great game against the Denver Broncos when we were in attendance. So I think it's important to see with that running game, and hopefully Kareem is completely healthy, and we can go from there.
No, I agree.
So, do you think the offense will be able to pick up the slack of missing Deshaun Watson?
It just depends on how creative they get. You know what I mean? You learn the strengths and weaknesses of whatever quarterback's going to be out there. Jacoby, Josh Dobbs, Josh Rosen. You just learn the strengths and weaknesses, and then cater your offense to it around that. I mean, it helps that you have a really good running tandem with Chubb, Hunt, whatever they do, Dearness Johnson. Then you have two good tight ends, pretty good offensive line. So, I think it all depends. And this is going to really fall in the lap of Stefanski, because you're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to coach. You can't just go out there and say, I have a roster full of talented players, and I'm going to go out there and just win a game because we have the better players on the team. We tried that before, and that didn't get us anywhere. So you're actually going to have to coach your team up, actually coach 2 or 3 wins without Deshaun Watson, or how many games he's going for. At least half of those games that he's going for, you're going to have to coach a W. You can't just go in there and say, I have Jacoby Brissett, and he's going to give me the win, or I have a defense, I have Myles Garrett, or I have Nick Chubb. You're going to have to coach your guys up and get that win for them.
Do you think that they will incorporate the running backs more in the passing game if they don't trust Jacoby and his arm, do some screen passes and things like that?
You got the one guy last year. You got Kareem Hunt, and then you got the guy that we picked up last year from UCLA. The guy we drafted in the 6th round. So, you got 2 good pass catchers out the backfield. Nick Chubb is he's okay.
It's an area of opportunity for him, and he's admitted to that, and that's something that he worked on.
He's not the strongest, but he's okay. So I feel like check down Jacoby won't be bad. If he wants to throw hundreds of check downs, you have the receivers to get it done. So I wouldn't be upset if Stefanski made a lot of plays where he was throwing a lot of it to his running backs.
Yeah, because yards after catch is going to be important too, and that was one of the things that the Cleveland Browns were one of the worst teams at, was getting the yards after catch. So I think it'd be important, especially if you use these running backs in your passing scheme, that they can break a few tackles and things like that. And we already know that Nick Chubb can break some tackles. We just need him to be able to get in possession of the football. So he's even admitted that that's something that he needs to work on. So hopefully that's something he's been working on. I know that he's been bench pressing a lot, so hopefully he's been getting
thousands of pounds.
Squatting and stuff like that, getting those legs nice and strong for the season, and hopefully that's one of the things that will be a success, because how do you scheme success for Jacoby Brissett? What is his strengths?
Just figure out what his strengths is and try to maximize. He did it with Baker. He found out what Baker's strengths were, and he tried to maximize on them. So I think if he's as good as advertised, he should be able to maximize Jacoby Brissett's strengths. Jacoby's a veteran quarterback. he's not going to throw the ball where it shouldn't be. So I think he's kind of off that.
Yeah, I think that the offense will be able to pick up the slack. I think that they're going to be hungry. I think that one of the things is there's a lot of people that are saying that they're going to be terrible. So I think that they're reading the billboard material. They're seeing what's going on with their quarterback, and I think that they want to make a run. The last few years, they've had Super Bowl expectations. They've been the talk of the NFL, and nothing has fallen through except for having that win against Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. That's been the one thing, but there's always been a lot of hype that comes into every season. So I think that they're hungry and that they want to show that they can do this without their quarterback, and then when their quarterback comes, it's going to be even better, because if they can make the wild card with this schedule that they have, and Sean comes back in and doesn't really miss a beat, it'd be something, short of a miracle, and, be one of the greatest sports stories ever told.
Yeah, it'll be all forgiven with Deshaun Watson, too. There'll be a lot of people who.
I don't know about that. I think.
If Ray Lewis can get a man killed, and Marvin Harrison, and all of those things, and they won Super Bowls, and now they're heroes. I can't Deshaun Watson.
I think that there'll still be a certain segment of the population that won't embrace him.
2%.
But yeah, overall, for the most part, winning changes everything. That's a culture that we live in. So, yeah, but I think, it'd be one of the greatest sports comebacks of all time. It's just, waiting to hear how long it's going to be. And, literally, I'm always waiting on the alert on my phone to go off and tell me, breaking news. And I'm always checking to see if it's something that came out, Deshaun Watson. But I have a feeling that, what if she came out with it tomorrow on the first day of training camp? Because is he allowed to be around the team? Does he have to be away from the team?
Ban him. I don't think they're banned. If you get suspended, like DeAndre Hopkins, he's suspended for the first 6 games, but he's reporting to training camp.
Okay.
The only person I think can't report is Calvin Ridley, because he's suspended for the whole year. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't go either if I was him. But, going and being around your team could be, something that's uplifting as well. So
I think Calvin really should. I mean, you can't play, but I feel like he should still be able to be around the team.
Because I'm thinking when Kareem Hunt was suspended, I think he was allowed to be around the team.
Just when the season started, he was going for 8 games.
That seems like forever ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah. It probably was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It feels like 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, that might have been 2019, I think, maybe.
It was his first year here.
Yeah, before the pandemic. So I think, things were kind of normal then. So, but yeah, just, kind of just waiting at this point, just waiting to see what's going on and see what's happening next for the Cleveland Browns as they embark on the next training camp. And it's like, you happy, but you kind of sad as well.
It's kind of like we're optimistic. This has been already a long off season for us. We're going from quarterback to quarterback. Then, we're all of us. We were that franchise where everybody felt bad, but now we're that franchise that everybody hates because we got a good quarterback. So we're a threat to him now. So.
I still think that we're lovable losers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just been a long, exhausting off season for us, and I'm just glad it's here. But it feels like it's not it's not done. Until we get that ruling, it won't be done.
Mm-hmm.
So until we get that, it feels like it's whatever we're going through. It doesn't feel like so.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's been exhausting too, and I'm kind of tired. And now it's just playing the waiting game, and that it's almost like waiting for a pregnancy test.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it's going to come back negative or positive, depending on what you want it to come back at. So it's just like I'm waiting, and who knows what the results are going to be. But I think a decision is coming soon because it has to. How much longer can you drown it out at this point? Drag it out.
And she has other cases to go move on to. It's just not this case. So.
Yeah. Well, Marshawn, I want to thank you. That's our time for Marshawn Powers and Rachel Hill. You've been listening to her in the Huddle.